Left-hand side of Ancient System for Game 1 of this Kung Fu Cup Grand Final Best of 5. Our blue Zerg player here is going to be Solar from On-Side Gaming. In the top right, our red Terran is going to be from Team Liquid, Clem. Alrighty, Game 1 of this Best of 5, we get this one underway. Get this one set up to rumble. And see, I mean, a Clem that just was very dominant there against Dark. Entering the arena against another Zerg Solar. I wonder if Clem plays as aggressively or if he believes a little bit more in his ability to kind of play the later stages against someone like Solar. Because Dark has repeatedly kind of shown to Clem that he can deal with his multitasking, can pressure Clem's multitasking as well, and get a lot done in those scenarios. So, yeah, I do kind of wonder how the setup here will look for Clem, if it looks like significantly different or not. No poll? Yeah, sure, give me a sec. I'll set up the predictions for you guys quickly. There you go. Alright, thank you so much. Does Amazon Prime count? So obviously Prime's helped us support the stream and obviously help us to make money and keep on doing StarCraft things, but for the actual revenue thing about getting the 70-30 split, it's specifically like paid subs. So if you're like a regular sub that pays whatever it is to sub, that's what it is. And like I say, we're on the better side of that cutoff now, but we're not like super clear of it. It's like super safe. But just generally, like, it was just more of a mention that, if you do consider subscribing in the long term, do consider maybe using a regular sub, just keep us on the safer side of that. It's not like hey guys, we really need this, or we're in trouble. So if you just have a Prime, I would suggest just using your Prime if you want to support me. That's what you got. Just saying if anyone was considering otherwise. As outside of that, as Reaper goes across the map, let's actually focus up on the game and what's going to happen as we get this one up and rolling. With, just Reaper coming straight across the map, heading down towards that natural. Not really messing around at all there. Gonna start to see if we can do some damage. This is pretty standard from Clem. Reaper into a factory, CC back at home as well. Everything about this really does just scream straight up standard. Compared to, obviously, against Dark, he opened quite aggressively. And this is the Zerg map pick. This is the #1 Zerg map out of all 5 maps we could see in this grand final as well. So keeping that in mind, Clem just very happy to play a very standard 3cc based opener. Kind of just suggests he's got confidence, right? Like, he's not worried about this being the Zerg map. He's not worried about this being Solar's choice. He's not worried that this should be the worst case scenario for him. And like, if you ever expected something quirky, it would be on the map that's worse for you. Well, no, not in this case. In this case, Clem's just going to play straight up and standard and just say, yeah, I'm not afraid of playing Ancient against you. Let's see if that backfires or not down the line, but yeah, it'll be fun to see now Clem playing just some straight up standard macro. He loves these Hellions into, say, for example, a Liberator on this starport, and he's really good at keeping those units alive for a long time and getting the absolute most out of them, so those are things to watch for in these early stages. We'll see exactly what comes out of the starport soon. You see a tech lab on the barracks. It could still be like a Liberator and then the follow-up be Stim, and that's what the tech lab is just getting up and running for already. So that's an option. And a couple of Hellions still about halfway done here. Just going to be seeing our CC is about to finish up. A couple more SCVs are coming out. And the Banshee already starting up from Clem as well. Is just getting that Banshee up and rolling. So it is going to be a Banshee instead, which is also very standard in this circumstance because, well, you're playing triple CC. Just in case your opponent does get aggressive, this is a perfect way to make sure that this triple CC does not go anywhere beyond that. How's the Queens up there? The Hellions and the Reaper are going to get tipped on back. And yo, Dave Testa, my man, how you doing? Thank you so much for the donation. Reminding chat that you can donate as well. Thank you so much for the generosity, mate. I appreciate it. Hope you're doing well. And thanks so much for supporting the stream today, mate. I hope you're doing good. Thank you. Hellions and the Reaper back up into the center. We just move around a little bit still. Trying to see a little bit of what's going on. Thank you, Tired Universe, for gifting out a sub to Prime sub. Appreciate it. Prime sub gets a gifted sub. Hey. Alright, awesome. Thank you so much, guys. I appreciate the love. As I'm also just saying, awesome because I'm just kind of waiting to see where we go with this game, which is pretty standard still. Obviously, the Banshees will have their cloaks. That is an aggressive opportunity for them. That's something that we're probably going to look at a little bit to see if they can do much about. Hellions get rid of a couple creep streamers pretty much straight away, so going to knock those out just immediately. I'm just going to find actually a drone here. Oh no, no Spore Crawlers ready. Man, this was obviously kind of what happened with that last game against Dog as well, right? But then we just didn't, nothing's really happened this game. Solo just wasn't ready for the Banshees having Cloak and so on, and that's 6 drones already. Now, Hellions are lurking around, looking for some damage themselves. They choose to kind of go up the top side. In the end, they're just going to pull back. Another Banshee going to turn around, and these Hellions will continue to come through, looking for the Queen. We'll get Queen number 1. Next Queens continue to take some shots. Banshees continue to poke through there. Hellions coming forward once again. Banshees still up overhead. Overseer now morphing. I mean, any damage that these Banshees put out right now is just, at some point, damage that will add up, potentially in energy or transfusion that will be dropped. The Overseer just finished, and the Banshees are over to the left side, so they've got some time. And Clem continues to play into mech. Well, he's already started off great with this damage. Now you're going to play mech behind it. Battle mech especially. And we obviously just saw how well and effective that worked against Dark. Clem might be onto something here. He starts some Macfield straight away. He's going to be aggressive. He's going to look to continue taking advantage here. My goodness. Hydra Den coming through on the side of Solar. A couple more drones and a few more Zerglings still on the way out. As we come around the south side, and they are going to come straight through, jump onto this hatchery. Auto turret goes down as well. It's just going to be helping to get some damage done. Can we actually kill this base? That would be ridiculous if we got the base kill. The Hellions don't commit to it. I mean, honestly, maybe they could have done. The Hellions are a little bit more expendable because you're playing mech, of course, so that is noteworthy to say the least. Queen coming up on that hatch. She's going to be seeing a couple of Banshees coming through. 4 drones going down. So a good little bit of damage there as well. Hellions still fighting. A couple more of these Lings going down as well. Some of the drones are still getting picked at. Just going to be seeing our Hellions peeling back into center of the map. Going to get a little bit more creep spread as they go. Hyperfly Rotors, Macfield Accelerator, Infernal Pre-Igniter. All of these being brought up into play for the moment. Let's get up to the top. Just going to be DC, the Cyclones and the Hellions there. Quickly able to turn those back around. And again, Clem just setting up a good bit of supply. It's just been a great start for him. You can't really put it any other way. As the Hellion Cyclone continues forward, going to go for another dive towards this base. I mean, Solo's going to play Lingbane Hydra. Can work against Battle Mech sometimes. We'll see if it's going to be enough here. I just wonder if Solo's just too far behind for it to matter. That's a lovely flank, though. It's going to allow a lot of the Balins to crash into the Hellions, and the Hellion count is going to get reset down a huge amount. That was definitely a cute little play from Solo. It was really those Lings around the other side that stopped those units from backing away so easily. Definitely made a bit of a difference there early on. Clem still has the Raven as well, by the way, so we can continue to knock down some more of this creep spread. The more of this creep spread we knock down, the better it is. You see an Overlord getting deleted by Cyclones that have the Macfield upgrade as well now. As our Lings are still chasing through, Hydras are coming through as well. Now the Banshee squad going to come down the bottom. That's going to be a 5th base that I don't think ever gets on the line. Another Overlord dropping too. You got to be careful right now as Soul. You're bleeding out units left, right, and center. It's just a rough game, man. Clem is just keeping up the pressure. He's not giving you room to breathe. He's not giving you time to think. Cyclones back it up one more moment. We do see the Banshee still around the bottom. Going to head in toward the main base. Smoke Roller finishing up. The Banshee's coming around this way. A few drones. What are we doing? Are we killing drones? Are we running into spores? The Banshees really didn't seem to know. Well, gonna find a Queen over here. There's one Banshee that's low HP, but right now it's not really being contested. It's kind of working out. It's staying safe enough. Another Hatcher trying to get down in position. Cyclone's just coming through. That's a lot of lock-ons. I mean, these Queens do have transfusions if you can drop them quickly enough. The damage output was pouring through there very quickly. That was a lot all at once. We do see these, this mech army still continues into this base. Hydra's still pressing through as well. A couple more auto turrets going down. Bane's Hydra's having to back it up for just a few extra moments. And this hatchery is still low from earlier and a contained 4-base Zerg against a mech 5-base Terran. Tanks on the way as well, so we're going to have a more solidified backbone to this army now from Clem 2. It's not just about this hyper-mobile battle mech force. He is going to have the stronger kind of portion of the mech now coming into play. So the Banshees are taking some heavy hits. They're not looking too hot to be a Banshee pilot right now. There's still 3 Banshees alive. Did we only actually lose 1? Okay, we lost 3, I was going to say. I didn't know how many we had originally, but now I think about it, we definitely saw more than 3, or more than 4. Still fine, though, because I think at this stage, Clem losing a couple of those units just frees up supply for some of the better units, right? When I say better units, I mean, you know, siege tanks, and, you know, things can actually take, like, a larger fight as this game progresses from, you know, much more of, like, a harassment focus from Clem into everything else. Now, these tanks get mass blinding clouded. That's a huge play on the Vipers. They're going to get every single one of those tanks. Now is Clem just not really ready for this fight, getting punished because he just sieged up all at once. Now, these Cyclones are still going to try and get some work done. We're going to have some Banshees in the sky that are still putting in work as well. Really chaotic battle, but actually Solar comes out on top of it. Massive fight for Solar, just as he needed it the most. And Clem, for everything right that he did in this game, might have just lost it all in that one massive engagement that goes Solar's way. Solar's now on top of Clem's bases. He's going to be retreating away. He's going to start losing SCVs. Recovery as a mech player is difficult because you do not rebuild your units quickly. So there's not suddenly going to be a surge of units all popping out at once. And that might be where Solar continues to get so much damage done and continues to capitalize on that previous fight. Wow, I mean, this is just how fragile mech is, right? It's almost silly how quickly mech can just fall apart. I mean, in fairness, again, 6 siege tanks, 1 blinding cloud, dealt with all of them. You just can't siege up your tanks like that. You've got to be a bit more prepared. You've got to be a bit more ready to go, ready to play. You know, that was just a little bit too much kind of panic mode from Clem. And like I say, punished for it. That's where Solar gets himself right back into this. This really was all about Clem up until that point. Well, +2 missiles, +2 melee continue through. Solar will continue to see a bunch of his upgrades come into fruition here as Clem is going to get a chance to re-max. He's got a couple Ghost Mix in as well. Obviously, Solar's the one bringing the fight to Clem, which means that these Cyclones are not going to get much kiting opportunity, which is kind of a shame. That's generally where the Cyclones excel. And that's why it's really good when you play against Battle Mech. If you can bring the fight to them, you know, these Cyclones end up in a corner, they can't kite away forever, and then you just take away most of the value these Cyclones would usually provide. I think the Cyclones are something that I rebuild because they rebuild quickly, but it doesn't exactly help you hold down a position. That's what was so good about that tank count being built up before. Pushes like this were truly shut down by that siege tank count growing. Whereas the Cyclones just wouldn't have been able to deal with it if these units got across this other side of the map. And like I said, just still have found a great time to utilize that Viper and found himself in solid game-winning position. And at the moment, still feels like that's the case. Unless Clem can continue to turn this around. He's going to add a few more siege tanks now. Kind of somewhat mentioned, I think that is pretty much essential. I think without that, you're probably in a bit too much trouble here. There's a few more Cyclones that you continue to get knocked down. Hydra's once again just getting forward and taking, I'd say, good enough of a trade. There is going to be the siege tank here, some wouldn't mind. The tank fire, the ghost snipes. I mean, everything adds up to try and keep Solar back. Solar even finding time, though, to invest into an Infestor, which an Infestor at this point in the game is really cute. A Fungal on some Cyclones and so on is obviously a fantastic way to get some, excuse me, throat went dry, to get some additional value against those units that love mobility. Take that mobility away, and they're not very good, as this is just going to be too much. Solar's going to win this one out, and, well, there's a reason I'm not a massive mech fan. Kind of games like this, right? It's just number 2. In the bottom right-hand side, our blue Zerg player, this is going to be Solar. Taking on the red Terran in the top left corner. A Team Liquid's Clem. Yeah, aggressive and obviously, I think so. One thing you can say here is that obviously mainly you can, yeah, I think mainly you can kind of look at this and say that Clem plays Ancient Sister and says, okay, Zerg map, play some mech, but he was also happy to mech on some of the other maps against Dark, so maybe that's something we'll see throughout this series, in fact. That could be obviously very cool if we do see that multiple times over, and just a whole bunch in general. Could be very cool, actually, so kind of intrigued as to maybe how that goes. Couple of barracks going down as we do proxy one of them. Wow, this is becoming a build, huh? This is something that Bjorn just tried to do against Dark earlier today. Proxy one of the racks as you go for the low ground barracks. So I'm already going back into some form of Reapers. I'm genuinely very curious as to what the hell is going to go down here. Next coming up, Reaper coming through. We do have a spawning pool about to finish up on the side of Solar. So get that spawning pool up and rolling. First couple of lings coming out, but of course Solar doesn't currently know about the fact that one of these barracks is proxied. He has no clue, in fact, right now as to what the opener is. So currently playing in the dark, and we'll have to figure that out in general very soon. As our Reaper sets up over on that right-hand side. And this Overlord just continues out to the front. A little bit of an investigation as to what is going on in these early stages. Reaper starts up as well, it's just going to get that underway. And going to be obviously having the Reaper being built off the proxy racks too. So it just means that you've got an extra Reaper showing up a little bit more frequently. A little bit more quickly, I suppose, because of that proxied barracks. That is the main portion of this to take note of. There's two Reapers together, already coming through here, having a bit of a ping-pong with each other. First grenade goes down. We saw Clem, again, against Dark, was so good with these Reapers. Let's see what he can do against Solar, as he is going to be forced out pretty quickly to the low ground. The moment isn't able to get too much else done. So yeah, the first Ling's being up so soon, the Queen being out so soon is really nice from Solar as well. Make sure he can, you know, aid himself in the defense here a little bit. Just that pool first instead of hatchery first. A little bit just naturally better against these kind of builds, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's a straight up defense. You still have to micro correctly. Clem lifts the proxied barracks up. This is the difference, right? You get a fourth Reaper so quickly, but this is the difference of the earlier gas pool. Link speed's already done, and Clem, he's got to sacrifice one Reaper already. Can he get these others out? Oh, he nearly did. That was very close to being good enough. Just not quite good enough in the end, unfortunately. So Reaper's still getting away, but I mean, I guess you can obviously say that from Solo, this is an investment too. He slows down his own economy to have link speed this quickly. However, this is obviously an investment from Clem because he proxied the barracks and everything, and so I actually think just overall smart choice from Solo. Probably realized a little bit of, hey, you kind of been doing this, especially if he knows what Clem's been doing on Grezvan lately. And I think Solo, to some extent, 100% set up against what Clem's been up to as of late, so. Cool stuff is just going to be seeing now a couple things at the front. Reactor takes a little bit of a nibble. Extractor, Roach Roaring coming down from Solar. Okay. 100% going to up the ante a little bit then, get a little bit more aggressive even than what we've already been doing. Thumbs getting up to his third CC, his starport coming through. Solar has a lot of gas. He is really going to commit to these roaches. He really seems to believe that these roaches are his way to a victory. He obviously believes they can do some serious damage, otherwise he wouldn't be this committed to them, so he's going to send it. Aliens and the Reapers continue through the center, up and down the bottom left. Lings around that bottom side as well. Just going to be seeing Hellions, Reapers continuing through. Just going to be seeing Hellions and the Medevac still coming up. Stimpack as well, also coming in. Marine's going to be here. Zerglings will get around. Marine's going to jump into the bunker. Well, the bunker's a bit of a savior there because actually that would have been really problematic. I mean, even still, things in the main are going to have you running around silly, and meanwhile the roaches are showing up for the first time. I do think Clem's in a little spot of bother right now, guys. I think he might be in some trouble. I mean, obviously the bunker, the wall off, these are going to help him to defend, so maybe that gives him a little bit of a better chance with all of this. But the bunker's gone, and okay, this is really not pretty. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Yeah. Go game 3, I guess. Solo going to take a 2-0 lead, man. What a swing of momentum in this series from obviously a game 1 that was extremely Clem favored until the final 3-4 minutes. And now a game 2 that's going to quickly fall into the hands of Solar. As Clem's preparation for this just was not enough. He's going to try and drop units to the bunker so they can actually get in. Otherwise, if they try to run there, they would have died. The Roach is just going to kill this bunker off, and that's not going to be a problem. And what is going to be a problem is 25 supply against 70. Zerg has a lot. Roaches especially can take down these Marines without issue. And Stim just finished, and it's like, well, so what? You're going to be making these Marines even easier targets. they're not going to have the DPS to clean this out either way. GG's, and Solar is suddenly up 2-0 in this series. No messing around given there, as he really just picked a great build. But what Clem did, shut down those Reapers quick. More about that at the end of the stream today, I guess. So we have got down to the bottom right. Our Blue Zerg, this is going to be up 2. One map from victory in today's Kung Fu Cup. It is Solar. His opponent in the top left from Team Liquid, the Red Terran. Playing well enough to get there. Just needs to sharpen up a little bit here and there, and obviously just very caught off guard build order-wise, and just build order scouting-wise in general in the last game. Clem, let's see if he can sharpen up enough going into this game 3. It's on him to potentially give us a more awesome, better series. I really hope this is not just going to be like a fast 3-0. That would be kind of sad, honestly. Just not what I'm going for today. Not what I was hoping for. I was hoping that this final would stretch out, especially because, like I was saying, it's been a bit of a faster Kung Fu Cup in general. So yeah, with it being a bit of a faster one, I kind of expected to, you know, hoped for, I guess, if nothing else, the finals to be a little bit longer. Overlord is moving out onto the map a little bit. Bit of a journey over there to start us out. Reaper on the way, Orbital on the way, Hatch Gas and Pool on the way, a couple of drones coming out. All of this getting set for the moment. Clem Classic, 3cc Banshee incoming. I mean, it did so well for him early, though. 3cc Banshee obviously played into mech, but played into bio as well. Imagine 2-0ing Dark and getting speedrun by Solar. Oh, different games go different ways, man. StarCraft's kind of a beautiful series like that, a beautiful matchup like that, or a beautiful game like that got there in the end. It's a beautiful game like that where, you know, just because you beat one player on one day doesn't necessarily mean you're going to beat the next player along on the same day, right? Like, that, I think that's one of the best parts of StarCraft, that it has so much, not necessarily volatility, because I wouldn't even say it's necessarily volatility, just the players are so good, and the different styles between players can be so good, and each series, the different ways that builds can play out can be so different and varying. It's just one of those things that's just very enjoyable. It makes it so rewatchable, right? It's very rare you see, yeah, sometimes you see the same build a couple times over, and it probably playing, oh, maybe it does play out the same way, but it's very rare you see the exact same game play out twice, right? Because so many variables, so many things that can go slightly different each and every time. And that's what makes it so fun. You put the pieces of the puzzle together to figure out how it's going and where it's going and all the rest. If it comes around the right, couple of queens will put some damage onto said Reaper. Hellions are coming out, SCVs as well. Tech Lab about to finish on the barracks. The starport will follow. Let's see if we are just going to swap that starport onto it. It looks like we will. 2 CCs though, not triple CC. So only 2 bases for Clem. Not going to go super economy heavy here. Going to be a little bit more focused on this kind of just fast Banshee play. Wants to get that set up. Wants to get that rolling for himself right away now. Banshee, couple Hellions, all on the way out for the moment. As we have our link speed about to finish, and these units of Clem continue around the left-hand side and go for a bit of a dive in towards this middle line. The Queens are going to get across. Instantly grab ourselves an Ovi there, and it's obviously nice to get rid of an Overlord early. That's going to be still a little bit supply blocked even, so opportunities for Clem. Definitely not a bad start these early few moments. Banshee continues up, the Cloak continues on the way in as well, so that's all going to be of importance. As we just look around and look to see if there's any little bits of extra damage we might be able to get done here over these next few momentos. And she's going to sit on the edge, pick away at a couple of those drones. We've got some Zerglings trying to move up the front as well. Not quite going to be able to see too much success there. Going to force a Spore Crawler once again. Just going to get that going. Plus one attack, stim, all of that continuing through. We're just going to be seeing the Roach coming online. With the lair, the Banshee coming across as well. Looks as though it is going to try and grab an extra drone or so for the moment. I mean, a few drones going down obviously adds up, does pretty nice for you, does a little bit of damage. So, yeah, that works out quite nicely. Pretty happy with it. Double Evo Chamber on the way. Clem with a single Engineering Bay means that it's a pretty committed attack from him, right? Like, straight up, he's just going to be pretty committed. He's going to be able to get in there, do at least a good amount of damage, probably, because it's going to be pretty focused on two bases. Now, he is going to go third behind it, though. You know, without that third CC, I would have said, maybe fourth and fifth racks, we do, you know, go for full-on two-base all-in. The single Engineering Bay is just that much of a sign in that regard. So, yeah, a little bit different, a little bit unique. Let's just see a +1 attack, a combat shield all coming through. A couple of Banshees are still chilling up in the skies. Armory coming up as well. Just for the moment here. As that lane continues over to the edges as well. Again, missile upgrades, roach speed. All of this going through. Hellion's going to go jump on a little bit of creep spread. Just going to clean that out. Just going to get rid of a whole bunch of creep spread straight away. He's going to stim up a storm. Let's see what we're going to do. CC gets up the front. That's going to be our third coming into position. Overall, I'm still kind of expecting to see something a bit more aggressive from Clem, considering the way he's been setting up. He even goes straight at +2 attack. No armor upgrades yet. He does now start the Engineering Bay, but again, it's all been about potentially setting up for aggression as Clem and being as powerful as possible. So, again, different way of kind of getting going. He's playing against those roaches, which I guess are scary to go up against. They are difficult to break through, and well, as he adds on +2 attack, he'll add himself the siege tanks as well. These are all things which, I mean, will definitely help further on against the Roach Ravager. I wonder how Clem will fare being down an armor upgrade as he jumps on these roaches. It's okay, he doesn't lose too much. He only loses one Marine. That would have been, you know, not picked up in the medevac, so not a big deal. It's a couple of roaches out of it and continues to look for further trades. Hydroden coming up from Solar. Hive as well. The next step of this is absolutely going to be roaches into lurkers. It's a fairly common style of play. It's one of those ones where it's not always the strongest. Especially because I feel like a lot of the time lurkers are the best when they have those lings up in front tanking for them. If you go heavy siege tanks to play against this roach style, you then will already have heavy siege tank counts against the lurkers. It's just very difficult for the lurkers to get in position when that amount of tanks are up and running. So, unless Solar can do something to disrupt siege tank production sometime soon, I gotta feel like this is fine for Clem. Obviously, he's not being super crazy on tanks. Okay, I lie. He's got 5 tanks. He's been building tanks all game, so he's actually absolutely been super crazy on tanks. He's still only on 1 factory, though, so these 5 tanks are very limited numbers, so if he was to lose some ahead of the lurkers popping, or in the first few fights with the lurkers, they're not easily rebuilt. Or not as quickly rebuilt as sometimes tanks may be, because like I say, it's not uncommon to see a double factory kind of play or so. Big push from Clem as he got going across the map here. +2/+1 not far from finishing, immediately already counterattacking his Solar. Looking to get in there, put himself into a nice strong spot, hoping to see some value out of this. We'll see with the tanks here. I mean, this is a moment where getting to lurkers feels very tough because, well, Terran is literally pushing up your ramp, but you're morphing them in. You do have a Viper coming out. Vipers can be amazing here against the siege tank count, of course. We saw that previously already. We know that that is very true. And that might just be what Solar needs to rely on, some good Viper spellcasting to help him just out of a little spot of bother that's currently ongoing. After it goes down, the Queen's taking a bit of a beating. Those tanks are really shelling away. Finding a good bit of value out of all of this. We continue to push on up. As we're going to stem these Marines. Ling's just going to melt. There's the Viper. Can we actually keep the Viper alive as we do abduct a single siege tank forward? That's the initial choice. Clem Solid believing if he can just sit behind these lurkers, Clem can't truly push in, and he might not be wrong with that. He'll be very correct, in fact, with how that plays out. So if Clem gets held up here, what's the situation? Well, he does have a Ghost Academy in a 4th base building. He is starting to look into the future of this game in a more kind of macro-oriented aspect in terms of what he needs as we delve much deeper into late-game TvZ. Adrenal Gland's on the way from Solar, so he's going to be improving his Lings as well as still getting further lurker upgrades. So we still see that being a priority on the Zerg side of the map. Bio coming through, a few of these Lings is going to get nipped at. We do see the Bio running top right. You're going to see Lings running after the Bio. And Bio will sit tight and pick away a few more of these Zerglings. A lot of those going down. A lot of Queens going down. The Viper gonna get picked up. Just gonna be seeing the Lurkers firing. A couple of those Marines still going down. So the rest of these Overlords continue to drop. The Hydra going in. Just gonna be seeing the crew spread still pushing on out. Bio in the top right is gonna find some drones as well. That's obviously pretty important. Pretty nice to be able to grab that. That's exactly what we're gonna start trying to do here. Just trying to get rid of this space. Solar still has the issue of that Terran army in the bottom left being not just on his front doorstep, but like encroaching into his space. I mean, Clem could maybe even think about dropping into the main. Didn't like the idea of jumping on those lurkers. I know sometimes we've seen players do fancy moves against lurkers when they don't have support, but that was just Marines, and that just wasn't the moment. It also wasn't that good of a spread. It was like 3 kind of clumps of Marines split up. But obviously the 3 clumps in and of themselves are not exactly like the be-all and end-all there. 3 clumps are kind of an issue in their own. They still take a lot of damage rather than being every individual Marine spread out, which is usually the case when you see success against those lurkers. Taking down a bit more creep spread. Banshees still going to town. Bioforce will continue through with that, and a couple more bios. Going to force the Banshees and the rest of this bio to split apart. Lurkers fire up a shot or two and going to go up this ramp, getting a lot done. Rest of our Lings still wanting to maybe come through here. Lurkers still holding from the low ground, still trying to fire up to the higher set of units here. We do have our entire army of Clem just repositioning, relocating from that earlier southern position to now this upper right side. Again, this is kind of the issue with it being kind of Roach Hydra Lurker rather than just kind of like Ling Bane Lurker or so. It's just so difficult to engage in. It's so difficult to find what you need to find here, basically. One of the issues right now as we continue through, just having ourselves the ghosts all lining up to see if there's anything they might be able to get done on this. The Lurkers on the low ground going to take some shots from the tanks, and the Ghost will snipe. I think a slow, systematic approach here from Clem can do a lot for him. I think he can be in a very good position if he just, again, takes it slow. I think time is on his side, right? Absolutely. As the Lings run in, they're going to surround this planetary. The Lurkers are going to get here. This planetary is gone. Bye-bye. See you later. Still pushing through. A little snipe on a morphing Lurker. That's a one-shot because it's essentially just a Hydra still to that snipe damage. As you do see our army of Clem going very deep on creep, clearly believing that if the Lurkers aren't in range, he can fight. And the thing is, the Lurkers were chasing though, and both players end up losing a decent chunk of supply, 160 to 150. It's close enough, and Clem is dealing with some counterattacks as well. And that Lurker gets some SCVs. It will get a lot of SCVs. It gets the Siege Tank too, so we'll have a lot more SCVs still to kill if it stops hitting the factory. Finally, some other units showing up, and that Lurker gets cleaned out, but my goodness, it took a little moment. Some of these Siege Tanks need a Blinding Cloud on those, and we do find it with the one Viper that shows up. Hits the Blinding Cloud. That'll be it for the moment. Knock down those these Siege Tanks, and you're going to have a much easier time with the rest of your army. The Ghosts are kind of low on energy from Clem as well. Unfortunately for Solar, I think he's just straight up a little bit low on supplies, so yeah. I mean, it's not too much supply behind Clem, but typically a Zerg wants to be A ahead, be on a good economy to rebuild with. I don't see Solar really winning this game without a good set of rebuilds, and it's just not the kind of situation we're in right now. Zerg does not have those rebuilds available to them, so it's looking pretty nasty. We might indeed have a finals on our hands then, man. We might indeed have a finals on our hands. With Clem taking a map would be obviously very exciting. To spice this up a little bit. Make sure we get to see at least a 4th game of this best of 5. Marines are there. Lings get turned around once more. They're going to actually go into the mineral line where SCVs will be in some trouble. 12 drones going down. As the Banshee from way earlier in this game shows up. My goodness. This is going to show up. There's no Overseer nearby apparently. We are just going to pick our way through Queens. Just whatever's nearby. He's obviously not putting too much control into it as Clem, but I think that's fine, right? I don't think there's anything specifically concerning about just letting the Banshee sit there. It's the kind of unit that wasn't meant to be alive right now, and the fact it got so much done is more than enough to make up for that Banshee cost. So that really was incredible. That really went a huge distance to helping out. Marines, Ghosts, and Siege Tanks are pushing through the bottom side. A little bit of crew spread that can be picked away at down there, so we work through that. We're just going to be seeing a couple of SCVs are dropping as well. And this army of Clem continues through the bottom. Lucasborough Rub Ghosts are going to get a few snipes off already as well. Just picking through those. A lot more Lings starting to pour on out as the Ghost just snipe away. I do not think Solar has the supply to deal with this. I think this really has just become more and more obvious as time passes by, and this is going to be GG's. Clem is going to have a map, my friends. He's going to have a map on the board. Hell yeah. Like I say, that's exciting because our numbers with an attack upgrade where tanks really do just benefit. They just hit down roaches sooner and Lings and so on, so yeah. Top right, still on match tournament point, up 2-1. Our blue Zerg player is solo, but no longer with all of the momentum and behind him and all of the wind in his sails and all of that. A very different circumstance going into map 4 than it was going into map 3. And bottom left, turning it around, 17-minute game on Babylon again. Very controlling, very just slow going. Didn't rush into anything unnecessarily. It is Clem in the bottom left corner of the map as well. OV of Solar, heading down the bottom. And Royal Blood, as I talked about a bit earlier on today, is kind of the meeting ground for kind of having an even series a lot of the time. These two, or most players, oftentimes it's some lag. A lot of these TvZ matches really do come down to this matchup because, or this map, because, well, it's the one that both sides kind of see as being even. Gonna have Frankie Duckland dropping from the game, unfortunately. But credit to them, they really did do a good job of leaving quickly. That's the most important thing when things go a little bit wrong. Don't try and stick around, pretend it's gonna be okay. Just gotta get out of there. As annoying and frustrating as that is when you're casting. Been there many times before. Unless it's your own tournament, then you make the rules, you know. If it's your own tournament, you do what you want. Well, I mean, generally you still try and get out unless it's like an important match. TLDR, sometimes if it's my event, I'll pause the game instead and just say, wait please, but generally, get out of there, which we did this time. This was such a non-conversational topic, no one cared. City coming down, a couple Queens and Lings on the way up. Keep heading around the top. We get some damage done, some shots going through. I'm just going to be seeing our Reaper coming back around and continuing with these Zerglings. As Clem has been pretty effective with the Reapers so far. I think that's been kind of apparent, and these games it was no different. Let's just have the Reaper gonna have a really good time, man. That is 3 kills on the Reaper early, which is just phenomenal damage. Again, kind of just beyond the usual expectations of what kind of damage you can get done with this. I mean, sometimes A-ling or so, but 3-lings, yeah, it's a little bit bonkers. A little bit bonkers. Well, Lair quickly from Solar, so maybe he has some aggression planned here for Royal Blood. Clem's proxy in the starport, not something you see a lot of the time. I mean, Clem loves his proxy starport TVP. TvZ, it's a little bit different, a little bit more unique. It's not something that's more, you know, quite as immediately like, oh yeah, this is great, this is awesome, this is a, you know, this is a thing. Yeah, just a little bit different. I'm interested though. Clem, I'm listening. I mean, I guess the idea is the same as in the TVP. You're gonna drop some Hellions and see if you can have a good time with them. See if you can get them into a good position and get them working nice and quickly. So I guess the plan is kind of the same as usual, as a few queens continuing across. Stim back on the way, Liberate as well. This is all the standard stuff from Clem, by the way. This is the kind of the Clem build I somewhat mentioned earlier, where he goes like the Liberator and then into the Stim. When I mentioned it earlier, he ended up going into the Banshees, which wasn't super unlike Clem either, but this really was for a long time like the build he loved. Link Queen Nidus, though, against it. Well, the Hellion count's going to be good at least. Queen's obviously can deal with the Liberator. It really comes down to if Clem can stop the Nidus getting up. He does have vision in his main base. Factory lifts off, another barracks going down, a couple Marines coming over, Hellions gonna be there as our Lings take some damage. Queen's coming across again. Queen's gonna get this Overlord, but the Nidus in the main base is actually gonna come up, which is such a shame. He had vision there for so long, and now the Nidus is gonna pop. This is disastrous for Clem. Yeah, the Nidus just popped over here. That was really sad. He literally just brought his unit away from the corner, man. Like, he had the unit in the corner. Like, here, this Marine, and he's like, oh my god, an Overlord! He took the bait. This Overlord was such a great bait. And he just pulled it away, and he loses vision as the Overlord shows up and drops the Nidus. And that's just game. You can't fight back from that. He was already losing a couple units here and there. It was a little messy, but yeah, that will do it, my friends. That's how this game ends. That Nidus just goes up. I know the Observer didn't show the Nidus specifically, but the Nidus literally got up. Nothing else happened in the main base. It was just the Nidus finished. Nidus finished, and Clem was just like, yeah, GG's, I'm out of here. So, yeah. He literally had the unit in position there like 2 moments earlier. That's a kick yourself game, if I ever